Yeah, I mean, it's been labeled the most addictive experience we can have or we have had that doesn't involve a substance. And
Really?
based on the numbers, yeah, based on just the numbers of players, it's not at its peak anymore. It's been eclipsed by some other experiences. But at its peak, I mean, it had tens of millions of users, and they were playing for hours and hours and hours a day. People just foregoing sleep. So it's a big shift in who plays
That's
games and spends the
hilarious.
most time.
Because
It's a big change.
those are the ones that were yelling at their sons just a couple of decades ago. It was middle-aged women. Get something going with your life. What are you doing? And now they're doing it. When you see these games and you see this massive addiction that human beings have to them, and then you see the technology increasing rapidly, do you anticipate us being in the Matrix in your lifetime?
Yeah, some version of that, I think. What's really smart about the devices we use now, at least from the developer's perspective, is most of us resist the idea of having an implanted tech device. We don't want something implanted in our brains yet. We're still pretty queasy about that idea. But if you ask people, 80% of adults will say that they can reach their phones 24 hours a day without moving their feet. So they're not physically implanted devices, but they're already basically there.
Right.
And then down the road, if you speak to people who work in virtual and augmented reality industries, they'll tell you, we're only a couple of years away from this being a huge commercial success, where just as we now almost all universally from quite a young age walk around with our own personal iPhones and smartphones, we're going to be doing the same, but they're going to be virtual reality glasses. And so you'll be going somewhere, and at any moment in time, instead of deciding whether to live in the moment or pick up your phone, it'll be, do I want to live in this moment or live in an alternate reality where I can go exactly where I want to go, do the thing I want to do, spend time in a virtual space with exactly who I want to spend time with. I think it's going to be incredibly hard for us to resist the temptation to do that. And that's going to create a literal physical barrier between human beings. I think we're all going to be living in our own little universes eventually if things go the way they've been going.
Well, if I was conspiratorially minded, and I kind of am, but only for fun, I would think that someone has probably set that ball in motion with COVID. With COVID and the lockdown, it's almost like if you wanted to make a movie where artificial intelligence wanted to figure out a way to hook us deeper, artificial intelligence would release a virus. And they would force us to stay inside. It doesn't kill everybody, but it makes people scared, so you stay inside, and it connects you even deeper to computers, and maybe more importantly, separates you even more from the human experience of touching and being around each other in social cues and social gathering, and it makes it even more compelling to do things virtually, more compelling to be on your computer all the time and messing with applications, and then while this is all going on, something far more immersive is released when you're already accustomed to it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, life in the last decade in particular has got way stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
The real world right now, there is so much about it that just seems like it can't be real. If anyone wrote a movie with the script of the last 5 to 10 years.
How about the last 4 here?
Or the last 4. Let's pick the last 4.
Just working towards, and people are not going to go for that in America. They might go for it in Germany, and good luck to you. But in America, in competitive business practices, I can't imagine that people are going to agree to something like that. And the idea that, I don't think that you're suggesting this necessarily, but that the government should step in and say, hey, when you're on vacation, you get 2 weeks of vacation every year. And when you're on vacation, all your emails get deleted. People are going to go, fuck you. I need those emails. What are you, crazy?
Yeah, I don't believe they should do that. I think that's absolutely absurd.
What do you think they should do? When you say the government,
one thing they could do is they could intervene with protected classes like kids, right? So kids are incredibly vulnerable on screens. A friend of mine who writes about these issues, Nir Eyal, talks a lot about protected classes, and that we have to have separate laws for people who, like, if they want to sign up, if an adult wants to sign up and say, look, I need help. I'm addicted to screens. I'm spending 12 hours a day on them. I want some help. Can you help me? Or for kids who are also a protected class, perhaps the government could intervene and say, we need ways to ensure that we're protecting these classes of people who basically either they've identified as needing help or they are kids and by definition need some help. So the government might intervene there. I mean, this is the thing about this issue. I've been thinking about it for 6 years. There is no magic silver bullet. It is an incredibly difficult thing to solve because, as you say, if you are telling people, especially in the US, we have found a way to make you happier and healthier, but it's going to make you much less competitive, and there's a chance you're going to miss out on opportunities, no one's going to bite on that. They're not going to say that's fine. And different countries and cultures will have a different balance that they strike. But that's what makes this so difficult, is that in the moment, a lot of us want to be doing these things. We don't want to be deprived. We don't want our like immediate liberties to be deprived, our ability to scroll mindlessly. If the government intervened and said you're not allowed to scroll on your screen, I'd bristle at that, and I think most people would. Yeah. Even if we know that maybe that'll make us more productive and happier in the long run. It's just not what we're looking for from governments. So you asked what I think we should do. I think it's incredibly difficult. It's a really difficult problem. I don't know that there's a very obvious set of solutions. Although I think we should be very, very mindful, especially with respect to kids, because I think they are unbelievably vulnerable, and sometimes their parents don't really know what to do. It's a difficult problem. And so there, I think we should be open to more, I don't know if extreme is the right word, but more intense interventions.
So when you're writing a book like yours, do you get this, because we both have this sort of same conclusions, that it's really difficult. This is an enormously difficult problem, and there's no clear-cut solution. Do you have a feeling, a sense of almost just futility? Just like, what is the point of all this? This is moving in a direction that I can't stop. I mean, maybe you can give out advice that a scant few individuals will act upon, that a small percentage of the people who read your book are going to go, you know what, Adam makes a good point. I'm going to cut back. I'm going to delete all my apps. I'm going to get a flip phone. I'm going to do something. But what percentage are going to do that?
It's a weird thing when you write a book like this, because the book for me was supposed to be not an expose, but it was supposed to be hey, there's this thing that you haven't been thinking enough about, and it's an issue, and we should probably focus on it more than we have been. That was my intention. So it's not written as a self-help manual. It's written as let me uncover what's going on here, and so you can understand the psychological hooks that are embedded. But as I've been speaking about this to audiences for the last 3 or 4 years, everyone wants a solution. And you're right. There are going to be a lot of people who are just like, I don't care about this. I'm fine. I'm happy. I just leave me alone. And that's fine. Yeah, we as a species like not to expend effort that we don't have to expend in general. But there are tremendous benefits that come from doing that, with grappling with complexity, with difficulty, actually being really honest about who we are. And it all goes against the grain. So the only way you're ever going to get kids to be self-aware and to think about these things is by inculcating that when they're pretty young, by teaching them that when they're the younger, the better, really, because as you get older, the gloss of culture and society and all the kind of stuff that's around us that makes it hard for us to engage in that way starts to take over.
How long did it take you to write this book?
It took about 15 months. I spent 6 months doing a lot of the research. I interviewed about 50 or 60 people for it. And then about 9 months on and off of writing. And then there was an editing phase back and forth with the editor.
Now that it's done, and you go back and you look at it and you think about the time that's passed since you released it, is there anything that you would have revised? Is there anything that you wish you had added?
Yeah, a lot of it I think stands. A lot of the stuff is still true. It holds the same sway with me. I still endorse it. I really, really struggled to get behind the curtain of the big tech companies. And I wanted to write about the business side of what these companies were doing. And tried really hard, but didn't get that far in delving with these companies. I couldn't get past a lot of there were some barriers, and they knew what I was writing about because I wanted to be honest about it. And I couldn't get a lot of the information that I wish I had been able to get. Now, when I speak about it, I have a lot of that information. I would have folded it into the book. A lot of it's not in there. I mean, I still talk about what these companies are doing, but I would like to have known more about the business side, and a lot of that was hidden from me. So that's a big part of it. There's not much else really. I have a PhD in psychology, and so I'm interested in what makes people tick and how they think. And so the middle big chunk of the book is these different hooks that are embedded in these platforms that make it hard for us to resist them, and that hasn't changed. That's as true as ever. And so I don't feel that I would change anything about that part of the book.
What about the business practices of these companies was interesting to you? That they're aware of how addictive all these things are?
Yeah, one of the practices that I found fascinating was the extent to which these companies use massive data sets to make their decisions, and huge amounts of data. So, there are two ways to make smart decisions when you're designing a product. The one way is you speak to smart people who know a lot about humans and what makes them tick, their motivations. And then you take that information and you embed it in the platform that you're designing. But that's really hit and miss. That's how a lot of video game development worked. And again, speaking to these video game experts who've designed games that have made tons of money, who have been very successful, a lot of them will say, look, I created a lot of games, but